It was the most frightening thing I ever saw, and I've hunted and stomped these woods my whole life. I'm 76 now, been hunting since I was little, and would never have believed it with such a thing until that happened, and now you won't catch me sleeping on the ground no more.
20, 30 yards away was this thing peeking over this pine bush.
It was a large, hairy animal, dark brown, black hair.
All of a sudden, this creature let out I want to call it a blood-curdling, growling, howling scream.
That's when I realized it wasn't my friend that had snuck up on me.
Dude, all the branches that are broken off are red.
That's crazy. There's no medulla.
Hey there, Glenn here, heading out to Coyote Coffee Den to meet with another gentleman and interview him. He and his friends saw a Sasquatch standing on the side of the road, crouched, just outside of Canyon City, not to the west, but to the east, heading towards Pueblo. They had just come out of Penrose and gone through the dip. There's a dip at Turkey Creek, and where we all lose cell service. But as soon as they came out of the dip, he said on the side of the road, he and his friends saw this thing. So I'm going to be interviewing him, and we'll be going on site, and he's going to show me exactly where it was. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. This is going to be really interesting. Cheers.
Yeah, my name's Peyton Griffiths, and we're here in Penrose, Colorado, and about, what would you say, maybe 5 miles from right here where we're sitting. I had an experience one night. Me and a good friend of mine, I play in the band, and we were practicing out here at K Street, here in Penrose. And we got done about 9:30, I would say, at night. And he rides with me because he lives like 2 blocks from me in Pueblo West. And so we were just, as we usually are, just chewing the fat, going back to Pueblo West. And we dropped down in the hill, in the gully there at Turkey Creek. Come up the hill on the other side. And I would say we drove maybe a quarter mile the other side of there, and there's nothing but prairie. No trees, nothing. And we were driving along there talking, and both of us got quiet at the same time because there was something standing on the side of the road, that we'd never seen before. And as many times as we come through there, and I left my foot off the gas immediately, and both of us was looking at it because it was just standing right by the fence that runs up and down Highway 50 there, and it was standing right by the fence, and it kind of hunkered down a little bit, like it didn't want the headlights to see it standing there. But it was ball open prairie. There was no trees or nothing, so it stood out like a sore thumb, And we drove within, I would say, 15 steps of it, maybe 20 steps at the most. And the amazing thing about it was its head was like this. Its shoulders looked to be that friggin' wide. It was a monster. That's all I can say. Standing on the side of the road, it was a friggin' monster. It was a monster. That's all I can say. It's a monster. Yeah, you can tell there's nothing out here to confuse, no cactus, no cedar trees, nothing to make you think that, you might have saw something else. But ball open prairie, no, not even a cow, no cows, no horses. But I don't care if I ever see another one, It scared me so bad it took me a while to get over it because, like I say, it was a monster. It was the most frightening thing I ever saw, And I've hunted and stomped these woods my whole life. I'm 76 now. Been hunting since I was little, and would never have believed it with such a thing until that happened. And now you won't catch me sleeping on the ground no more in a sleeping bag.
Well, I definitely think there's something moving along that riverbed that is so thick nobody ever goes down
Oh,
there.
Right. There's trees and Russian olives and willows, and they can walk down through that river bottom, nothing that nobody'd ever know they were there.
Yep. You're driving along. You see this on this. Okay, first off, what time of year is this?
Let's see. It was in spring, like March.
Like March. Okay.
Yeah, it was still cold outside, and the grass wasn't growing yet, growing up on the side of the road. So the grass was kind of beat down from the snow and stuff through the winter, and you could see it good. It stuck out like a sore thumb.
So do you know if I know it's okay? When was this?
What
year is this?
Oh Lord, let me see. This has been the buddy that was with me died 2 weeks ago, and this I'm going to say was 5, maybe 6 years ago.
Okay, so it's fairly recent.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And but the thing that struck me kind of strange was he hunkered down like he didn't want the headlights to see him. Didn't want us to see him,
Was he on the other side of the fence or was he on the road side of the fence?
I thought he was on the back side of the fence, but I don't really know.
So it could have been either way.
Yeah. That is about where that booger was standing, right there. And looking at him, if you can picture another half that wide again, his shoulders, I'd say. A good 3 foot wide. And with him standing there, this thing looked like it was hunkered down a little bit. And I don't think it was quite as tall as what he is. But anyway, it gives you a good idea. That outfit was a lot wider than he was. And but anyway, as you can tell, he come across that prairie there, and there ain't nothing out there that I could have confused for, like a cow, horse, or something that I might have confused it to be, something else. And I've tried every way I know of to convince myself that it wasn't what I saw. I grew up in the woods hunting and fishing. I started hunting when I was about 6 or 7 years old in Louisiana. My daddy got me my first shotgun on my 10th birthday. And I've hunted rabbit, squirrel, duck, deer, you name it, down in Louisiana until I moved out here about, 1982 I moved out here. And I used to stomp those woods in Louisiana. I mean, I loved hunting and fishing.
Sure.
Come in from school, and the first thing I'd do was change clothes, get into my hunting clothes, and I had a pen, a little dog pen outside next to our cattle gap, and I had 5 beagles in there, and I'd go let them beagles out, and I'd hit the woods. That was like starting in probably October. It was every day through the winter, and I'd go to the woods until probably dark, with my dogs, hunting rabbit or whatever I could kick up. And you couldn't have made me believe that there was such a thing. I never heard of Bigfoot, number one, when I was a kid. That just wasn't nothing we thought about because, in the night, I used to get my Started off with an old carbide light we used to have. Not too many people even know what they are, but we had a couple of them, and we'd put them little granules in there and a little water, and go out in the woods and that little flame spewing on the front. And I would look for coons. I'd go out there by myself with a little 22 rifle. And in the middle of the night there, we lived on the edge of what's called Shamanihaw Swamp there in Louisiana. And it's just miles of bottom land. And I'd walk around down in those woods at night, trying to shine a light, at 22. And that's how I run upon that. I think I was 17. About 17.
Tell me that story. So what happened?
Okay, I was down there as usual. It never bothered me to go down in the woods by myself in the middle of the night. And my mom and daddy would always sit on the front porch in the swing until I got in, though. They were concerned about me being down there by myself, and so they'd sit out on the front porch and wait. But anyway, I was down there walking around, easing around in them swamps looking, and I heard something yell. It sounded maybe 400 or 500 yards, quite a ways down in the swamp, and I stopped dead in my tracks because I'd never heard nothing yell like that before.
Can you describe the yell at all?
It's almost human, but not quite. It's hard for me. It's been so many years now. I'm 76 now, and I was probably 17 then, but it was an unusual yell that stopped me in my tracks. And I just standing, of course, I'm out in the woods, middle of the woods at night by myself. Naturally, your mind starts thinking stuff. And anyway, I just stopped and stood there listening, thinking, what in the dickens was that, And about 3 or 4 minutes later, he yelled again. And I thought, doggone it, just an unusual, almost like a man yelling, but more guttural, in the voice. And the third time it yelled, I could tell it was getting closer. It was coming my way. And it's dark. In Louisiana, when you're in the woods and the moon ain't shining, it's dark, And it was pitch black out there. So anyway, I just froze. And, of course, I was facing the direction where it was coming straight out of the swamp up to where I was on the edge. And I just kept standing there. And after it yelled probably maybe 7 or 8 times, the last time it yelled, it wasn't even as far as the highway right there from me.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it like acorns fell off the trees. It was so loud on me, And, of course, when it did, I had enough then. I turned around and my daddy said that he was sitting on the front porch and he saw me coming up the lane through the woods with that light on my head, And he said light was doing this, And he knew I was running, He said, what the devil's got into you, boy? And I told him what it was and what I'd heard and everything. He thought it was one of them mountain lions. So he called it a swamp cat, My daddy stomped in woods his whole life when he was a kid, too. And I often wonder if he actually knew what it might have been. Yeah, I was so dang shocked at what I was looking at. And I went home and I couldn't hardly sleep because it was a monster,
Yeah.
And I'm a grown man and I've hunted all my life and stomped in woods, even here, and never, ever expected to see anything like that in my life.
Can you describe what you saw? Can you go from toe to head to toe or toe to head?
Well, I couldn't really see its feet or nothing because it was standing in the grass, but it kind of looked like it was hunkered down maybe on one knee. And the main thing I remembered was its shoulders looked huge, like this wide, And the amazing thing about it was its head was down like this. It didn't have a neck, and the hair on its head come off and like almost stuck over its shoulders. It just kind of, and it was blonde.
And it was blonde.
Straw colored.
Really?
Straw colored hair. That's stiff.
The whole thing?
Just the head.
Okay.
Just the head. The rest of it was dark, and it was night, and I couldn't really tell if it was black or dark red or dark brown or what, but the light color on its head stood out, really stuck out.
Could you tell if there was facial hair?
I wished I could have saw the face,
Okay.
but it's just too dark. I couldn't.
Okay.
Probably if I'd have saw that, it really would have scared me, you know. But I went home and I called a girlfriend of mine, and I was telling her I was all shook up about it, because I got French doors on the front of my living room that's just glass. And I was thinking, that ain't but a few miles up the road. I hope that booger ain't coming this way. And anyway, she told me, she said, why don't you get on the internet and see in Colorado what they're seeing. And right off the bat, I saw Colorado Yellowtop. They called him. You can look him up.
I'll look that up.
Yep, Colorado Yellowtop. And that's what it was. It's a one with long straw colored. I would say not blonde, but more straw colored and stiff, coarse looking hair.
Okay.
Because I remember it stuck off his shoulders a little bit, it looked like. Or it could have just been shoulder hair. I don't really know, but the way it was staring at us, with his head down on his shoulder, and just kind of hunkered down waiting on us to go by. I'm sure as soon as we went by, it went across, because I'm figuring it come up the Arkansas River and it saw all those lights of Pueblo West. And it didn't want to go down in there, I know. So it thought, well, I'll cut across the highway and go north. No lights.
So that was your sense of things, that it was heading across the highway.
That's what I'm thinking. It was trying to cross the highway, and I just happened to time it just right and come by there. It's amazing. I wished there's some way I could have saw its face, its features and stuff, but it was almost like it was dark. I could sense it was staring right at us.
Did you see its eyes?
Nah.
No eye shine? No,
couldn't see nothing. No, it didn't have any shine on its eyes. I've heard stories about the red eyes and all that. This was nothing. No eye shine like a deer or anything.
But it was just a dark, but it was certainly a bipedal figure.
Oh, definitely.
How tall do you think this thing was?
It was hunkered down, and even hunkered down, it was tall as I am. I'm 5'9", and hunkered down, it was still sticking way up out of the grass, I would say if it stood up, it was probably 6-7 feet tall, He was standing just over that fence right there. And he kind of hunkered down, as we come over the ridge, he kind of hunkered down a little bit to stay out of the headlights, I guess. And anyway, when we come by, we got quiet. And I mean, that's what, 15 steps?
Yeah,
10, 15 steps, yeah. I mean, we were just like right there looking at him. And something with shoulders like this wide, it was just, I wished I'd have had a better gauge of this. Like I say, I think he was on one knee trying to stay out of the lights. I was the only vehicle on the road when I came by. And it looked to me like he was trying to avoid the headlights of my truck. But me and Dennis both, and he's born and raised here in Penrose, matter of fact, Dennis was. And of course, I'm from Louisiana, but he's not a hunter or nothing, fisherman or anything. And he was just flabbergasted, when he saw it. And the thing about it is, I couldn't sleep at night. I was on the phone with my girlfriend most of the time, just blowing off, my gosh, you should have seen this. Anyway, so the next morning at the crack of dawn, I don't think it was even good daylight yet, I called her and said, come on, go with me. We're going up there. I'm going to go back and look, see if there was any way there was a cow or an old bull or something out in the field there, or maybe a cactus with a brown Walmart bag or something hung up in it.
Right.
And so I picked her up. She got up and I went down and picked her up, and we drove all the way back to where it was at. No cactuses, no cattle, nowhere in the field, no cows. Still ain't no cows in the field.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't no, no cows or horses.
Yeah. Because you got to, I mean, that's
your mind starts.
Yeah. You go through the Rolodex of what could it be? It could, that is.
I kept telling myself it can't be. It can't be that. It's got to be a cow or horse or something. But two of us saw it.
Yeah.
And both of us were just shocked. And I mean, we talked about it till he died. I guess he had a stroke about 2 weeks ago now. And just playing on stage at Penrose, playing his guitar, and had a stroke and bleeding on the brain, killed him.
Wow, that's well, I'm sorry to lose a friend.
Yeah, my only witness.
Yeah.
And he had to go leave me here.
So you said this kept you awake. What? Now let's go maybe the aftermath. How did you feel? How did this change you?
Well, right off the bat, I wanted to tell somebody, I'd tell everybody, you never would have made me believe there was such a thing, because I've been in the woods my whole life, and two other guys in her band, I told them, of course, was ridiculed right off the bat. You sure there wasn't a spaceship landed right there pretty close? This kind of stuff. And but it didn't take me but a time or two to quit saying anything about it. But that next day, I got on the phone and called a Bigfoot organization. I don't remember who it was, in Denver or Colorado Springs. Anyway, I looked it up online, and I called this guy, and he basically took a report, like me and you're doing here, asking me about first one thing, the other, and that was the end of it. I never heard no more about it after that.
When how did it affect you going out in the woods now?
Oh, I don't go camping no more. I used to camp out all the time, me and my wife, and me and my girlfriends. I wouldn't think twice about throwing my sleeping bag on the ground and just getting down in it, and sleeping right on the ground all night. You couldn't pay me to do that now.
And what? So why is that? What makes
it's just the fear. I know now
that there's something
out there, and the unknown. I don't hear about it hurting nobody or killing people or any of that. But I don't want to be laying on the ground and that thing walk up on me. You know what I mean? I don't camp outside. I might go up there and stay, but I'm gonna sleep in the truck. You know what I mean? I'm gonna stay inside the truck, and me and my wife both. And my wife used to tell me, "I'm scared of them Bigfoot." Oh, such a thing. That's a myth. I used to tell her, I can't believe it. People actually believe in things exist. And I've stomped in woods, never even saw a track.
Yeah.
Down in Louisiana, up and down them creeks and swamps, and never even so much as saw a track, but I wasn't looking for them either.
Just today at Walmart, I met another lady who said her dad saw something down there. Yeah. So, it's when you get one story, you can kind of write it off. But when you get 2, 3, 4 now,
people saying it,
the same thing. It's like, holy cow, there is really something going on around here.
But I've hunted all my life. I literally grew up in the woods, and I bow hunt. I'm a bow hunter, a recurve bow, the old way. And I've killed 2 bull elk with it, and quite a few deer. I'd hunt down South Texas, all over the place. And so I've camped out a lot. Spent a lot of times up in the mountains, and I just don't want to do it no more. Just when I get in them woods and that sun goes down, I start visualizing what I saw standing on the side of the road. And I tried every way that I could think of to disprove that I saw that, like trying to see if there was cows in the field, or cactuses out there that might have looked like it, or just something that would tell me that, well, maybe I'm mistaken it. But nothing like what I saw, Just the most frightening thing I ever saw in my life was seeing that on the side of the road looking at me when I went by. And my buddy said, why don't you stop and let's back up? Boy, that was the last thing I wanted to do. I wanted to get away from her,
Yeah.
And but anyway, I wish now that I had a backed up. Of course, the fear has kind of left me now. It's been so long, but boy, I went home. I was a nervous wreck for several days. Could not believe I'd seen that, But I had one other experience. Me and my nephew comes up from Louisiana, hunts with me, and we got a good friend that owns property on the Fountain River, right at the racetrack.
Yeah.
At a horse racetrack, just this side of there. And we get down there about an hour before daylight, I guess, deer hunting. We got stands up and down the river, and we were standing down there by the car, getting their clothes on and stuff, and something hollered down the river, and the first thing popped into my mind, that sounded like what I heard down in Louisiana.
Wow.
And it hollered down on the Fountain River, and it was coming up the river. And our buddy that owns the property, Mike, he had already went to his stand about a quarter mile north of where we were standing, and it come right by us within maybe a couple of 100 yards. We were on the bank of the woods, and those woods ain't that wide.
Yeah.
Where that river is. And it come right up that river bottom. And every now and then they'd yell, just like that one was doing in Louisiana. And my nephew, I said, that's what I heard in Louisiana. So it kind of opened his eyes. He's hunted all his life too. So
what do you think that yell is? Because you're thinking, if something wants to be unknown, you're not going to be bellowing out.
Unless you're looking for company.
Unless you're looking for company.
Unless you're looking for company and trying to find out if there's another one in the area, and you're letting them know that you're there, wait, trying to hear another one answer you something.
Sure.
But anyway, it went on past us. And then me and Jim didn't know if we want to go get on the stand or not.
Sure.
And he went on kind of north, and it wasn't but just about 2 or 3 minutes. And Mike, we had these little radios, these little Motorola, and Mike got on his radio and said, did you guys hear that? Said, what the devil was that? I said, man, don't get us a line, We didn't have a clue what it was, but I told Jim, I said, I think I know what that was.
Now, you've heard cats around here.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't a cat. It wasn't a bear.
It's not that. No, it's not. Definitely
Cats have
not
that gravelly sort of.
Yeah.
And they're short.
Yeah, a little short.
Was this a long?
More of a kind of a weird sounding yell.
Okay.
Kind of I'd try to imitate it, but I'd make a fool of myself. But,
and when was this?
That was in, I'm going to say November. Because that's when we done most
And how
of
long
our
ago?
Right after I saw this thing.
Oh, really?
Like the very next fall.
Okay,
fall.
so if this was spring, that was fall.
That was fall. And I don't know if he went went across and went back down on the Fountain River this time, because he come off the Arkansas, I think. But anyway, he was in the woods. There's fields on both sides.
Well, and that's on the other side of Highway 50.
Yeah, on the other side.
Or, I'm sorry, other side of Highway 25.
Right. I-25.
Which is, everybody talks about Sasquatch being deep in the woods, right? Well, that is not deep in the woods.
And that was right in the ball open prairie right out here.
Yeah, and this is, where we're talking, the Turkey Creek, there's the draw down there, and there's the Arkansas, but we're easily 10, 15 miles from any mountain.
Oh, yeah.
Easy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what makes it so amazing. Thank you very much for taking time. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
And there's a lot of strange stuff out here. A lot of wide open spaces.
Never know, do you?
And we are easy 10, 15 miles away from any one of these mountains.
Oh, yeah. And, there's nothing over there.
That's all
Fort Carson.
Yeah.
And that's where he was going. He knew there wasn't nothing over there. He was going to cross this road and, probably loop back across 115 over there where all them people see him.
Yeah.
And back into the mountains. But he had kind of got himself boxed in up here, because nothing but houses up here if he went on east.
Yeah, but there's still the houses out there, what? Another 15 miles?
Yeah, it's quite a ways up there yet. At night, you can see the lights.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway,
No, it's interesting.
Well, what'd you think about that? Here I am on the back road, much closer to the Arkansas River. This is all private property. Nobody's down here. I just talked to a property owner from the area, and she assures me there is no Bigfoot around here. 3 generations? No, there's nothing going on. I asked if I can get down on the river off of her property. She said no. I totally can respect that. But it's that privacy, it's that lack of access that makes me wonder if all these stories that I'm hearing are true. People definitely have things made up in their mind. No, it's not possible. And then other people say, yeah, I didn't believe it was possible, and yet I saw something. And so that's what makes it so curious. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know, it's just, you can see what it's like down here. And be sure to subscribe, do all that good stuff, comment, notify. And if you or anybody you know has an encounter story, specifically here in Fremont County, but anywhere else for that matter, let me know. Encounters@modernexplorer.me. I'd love to document your story, because I believe that there is something going on around here. I've had too many stories. So thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.